All right. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, looks like we're live. Hello everybody and welcome back to Paleontologizing. We are here for a surprise stream today. Did not expect to be doing this. We were just driving through Blanding, Utah, and then I saw a sign for a dinosaur museum, and I remembered we've got the dinosaur museum in Blanding, Utah, so we went ahead and stopped. Might delay us by a few hours on our way to Arizona, but
That's okay.
Laurdee has been very, very flexible. I really appreciate that. Let me introduce myself real quick for anybody who might be new. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm trying to do some science outreach here on Twitch. So yeah. And this is Laurdee.
I'm Laurdee. I'm from Cooking with Laurdee. Usually I'm doing cooking content on Twitch, but right now I'm on this awesome road trip with my good friend Danny.
So yeah. So we are on this, as Laurdee said, really awesome road trip going all around the American West, visiting different museums, and we're adding another one to our roster today that we're very excited about. So let's go check it out.
Let's do it.
All right, the Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah. All right, gonna put my mask on real quick before we go in. These bugs. All right, and here we are.
Fossil hard as rock. The odds of this happening are so slim they are impossible to calculate.
Pretty
And
cool.
on top of that, actually find the fossil.
We'll go try and find a quiet spot first.
The world is alive.
We'll kind of get started, but we'll through here. Yeah, we are. Holy cow!
Data's matched up with Prime
Wow.
for 6 months.
Thank you very much, Data Slush. Really appreciate
Ragnar
it.
gave us 10 gift subs.
Holy cow, Ragnar. That is phenomenal.
Legenda just
Thank you very,
gifted
very
10
much.
subs.
Here, let's go over here in the corner. Here, maybe we'll sit right here and we'll just say hello to everybody real quick. Yeah, wow, I'm really impressed with some of these models. This is going to be really cool. But who have we got here so far? Claire, how are you doing? Good to see you. Phoenix, how are you doing? Reno, how are you doing, Reno? And Moosey Fate was shaken. Good to see you, Moosey Fate. This fly has followed us in from outside, and it won't leave me alone. Data Slush again, thank you for the Prime. Ragnar, 10 gift subs. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. That's phenomenal. And let's see, Callan Roar, welcome back. Good to see you. I'm glad you have returned. Sofluff, what's shaking? Good to see you, Sofluff. Patrick Pirate, yeah, Saturday Museum Times, indeed. We weren't expecting to do this, so this is pretty cool. I'm excited about this. And Yogurt Garrel, how are you doing? Great to see you. We are going to have a pretty cool time here. I completely forgot about this museum. I must have had it on my map, but when we were mapping out our trip today, I'm glad we have some wiggle room, because otherwise we would have had to, Anyway, Linda Needs Sleep, welcome back. Good to see you. And is there somebody else too?
Looks like Smoochosaurus is new.
Smoochosaurus, welcome to Paleontologizing. And it's great to have you here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, I think.
Let's get started.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I kind of want to start off with this lovely Styracosaurus here. Look at this. I don't think I've ever seen a fully fleshed out Styracosaurus, this big. This is gorgeous. Just look at that.
This is beautiful.
I, of course, would have liked to have seen some brighter colors on it, but you know what? That's a fairly new idea, too. It's
Look at the texture.
really well done. Really, really well
The
done.
little dots have score marks on the sides of them. But it's very, very detailed.
So some osteoderms there in the skin. I don't know if we really know if ceratopsians had those, but it's a cool artistic touch. I really appreciate that. That is pretty neat. Really awesome. And the hands here. Pretty good. Not bad. That last finger should be basically off of the ground right there. But this looks like it fused pretty well to ceratopsian footprints. Look at
Mayor Space wants to know if he's too splayed out.
Probably about the right amount, yeah. That's a great question, Mayor Space. As I said before, ceratopsian dinosaurs, out of all the dinosaur groups that go from bipedal to quadrupedal, ceratopsians might be the last one. And so they're still kind of new to the whole walking on four legs thing, and they might still have a little bit of a sprawl going with their forelimbs. I'd say this is pretty decent, though. Yeah. And those horns, you gotta love those horns. Styracosaurus. It's a beautiful animal. Look at that. And those eyes. Oh, man. Great color. Great choice on those particular eyes using those. It's funny, I doubt that you can actually get taxidermy eyes in that size. Like, these probably had to be made specifically for this model, because what modern animal would have eyes that big? Maybe an elephant, but I think elephant eyes are significantly smaller than that. Yeah. Elephants are not particularly visual animals. Like most mammals, especially like most big mammals. Yeah. Really cool. So if I'm not mistaken, this museum, the Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah, mostly houses a bunch of stuff from Stephen and Sylvia Cherkas, who were I think both of them were artists. They did a lot of work with National Geographic. They did a lot of work with a lot of museums back in the 1990s and early 2000s. I think they did a lot of traveling exhibits and stuff, so it's cool that their stuff has found a permanent home here. This is really nice. I'm impressed with this museum so far. I really am. This is cool stuff. And I want to say some of their work is actually, you can see it at places like Disney World, I think, in the dinosaur part of Animal Kingdom. I think some of those sculptures are Cherkas originals. I hope I'm saying that name right. I think it's like a Polish name, Czerkas, Cherkas, I think. And here's some lovely fossil casts right here. We've got a Hypsilophodon here. Beautiful. The specimen is from Utah. It's probably not Hypsilophodon proper then. It's got to be some other kind of... I don't know. I don't think we've had genus Hypsilophodon described from North America. This could be something like Othnielia or Nanosaurus, or who knows. There's those guys are kind of a mess taxonomically. But very cool. And look at how big those eyes are. I would not be shocked. Those orbits are really big eye sockets. I would not be shocked if these guys might have been burrowers too, just like their cousin Eryctodromius. Maybe those are for seeing in the dark of a burrow. Maybe they were also partly nocturnal or something. Who knows? Big ol' eyes. This would have been a very visual animal.
Was Hypsilophodon a ceratopsian?
No, Hypsilophodon is, well, it's what we used to call a Hypsilophodontid, back when we still used that term. It's a small, two-legged, beaky, plant-eating dinosaur. Like Dryosaurus or something like that. Yeah, they're kind of their own group. We used to think that all of these small, bipedal, beaky dinosaurs, these plant-eaters with long legs, they were fast runners, we used to think that they were all related to each other, and we called them the Hypsilophodontids, or Hypsilophodonts. Now we realize that they might be different dinosaurs from different groups that they're not necessarily related to each other. And so, yeah, they might be kind of a grab bag. It might be different dinosaur groups kind of evolved the same body plan, and they all used to get lumped together, but now we realize they might be different groups that all just look superficially similar. Hypsilophodontids. Yeah.
Were ceratopsian horns bone or keratin?
Both, yeah. Well, like with Styracosaurus right here. I wish I had a skull to show you. But each of these different, that horn on the nose and those spikes on the frill, those all have a bony core to them. That's how we know about these. So, the horn part, like the interior is bone, and then it's got a keratin sheath over the top. Same kind of material as like your fingernails that would have made it longer and sharper, and it's probably really brightly colored too, I would imagine. Just like a bird beak. Speaking of birds, we've got these lovely models over here. Very cool. There's a model of a shoebill. It's one of everybody's favorite birds. I like that. It's a lovely sculpt right there. Really neat. There's some artistic liberties taken with it, but it's done in a really thoughtful way. I like that a lot. And then there's a dodo right there. Very cool, very plump, flightless bird. So dodos obviously are extinct, but shoebills are still around today. You can see them in places like Uganda in Africa. And then there's a hornbill skull. This is kind of what I was talking about with the horn core being bone and then there being keratin over the top. So hornbills like this, they've got that big beak like that. But then they also have this crest, or you might even call it a casque on top of its head, C-A-S-Q-U-E. And so there's a bony core to that, but it's also covered with keratin. And it's kind of odd, like where the bone ends and the keratin begins, like it's a really gray area there. It's kind of a smooth transition from one to the other. And a lot of dinosaur skulls are probably the same way. Hornbill casques or crests are often really brightly colored. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But it's cool. That changes through the animal's ontogeny too. Young birds, young hornbills have a smaller one, not as well developed. And as they grow and mature, you know, the casque really changes shape. It's a good indicator of like maturity level, which is pretty cool. A lot of dinosaurs, their cranial structures probably operated in the same way. Oh, very nice. We've got some Triceratops elements here. These are real. There's a Triceratops beak right there. Upper beak, what we call the rostrum. So that's the end of it there. And this is where it attaches to the premax or maxillary bones. And there's a predentary right there too. So this is the beak, the lower beak of a Triceratops, and you can see that kind of pockmarked texture. That's where more keratin would attach. Just like the bill or the beak on a parrot or something like that. These guys would have also had kind of a keratin sheath over their beak, make it sharper and more resilient. And those pockmarks there are where like blood vessels would come through to supply that keratin with nutrients. There's a lovely William Stout Triceratops and a portrait right back there. I hope you can see it. Yeah, and there's a brain case and a brain cast. Pretty cool. So that cast over there, we'll call it an endocast, would be inside the brain. And that's the occipital condyle, the big round thing on the back. It's basically like the big, it almost reminds me of like the ball on a trailer hitch for attaching the animal's head to its backbone. Pretty neat. Right there again. Very, very cool. Yeah. It's fun. We're going to have like a whole smattering of eclectic little things to look at. This is going to be a fun museum. You know, I'm not even sure what we're going to see here.
How are the colors of dinosaurs and animals determined?
For dinosaurs, we usually have to guess. I have a command for this, exclamation mark, color or colors. But yeah, for most dinosaurs, it's guesswork. For just a select few, we've been able to figure out what colors they were if we have preserved skin or feathers, especially feathers. Some of those are so well preserved, we can actually examine the color cells and figure out like what colors those would have been in life. But for the most part, we have to guess. Yeah, I, for one, think that most dinosaur reconstructions that you see probably too dull colored. Most big animals today are very dull colored because most big animals today are mammals. Mammals can't see in color. They have no real reason to have bright colors. Dinosaurs, though, had full color vision. They would have been very visual animals, probably very brightly colored, especially when they have all kinds of crazy headgear and display features like this. These evolved to grab attention, be visually striking. So we have every reason to think that these would be brightly colored, just like a lot of features like that are on birds today. Yeah. We'll go check out this Cytrania skull before we move on to the next room real quick. But this is another ankylosaur skull. This is about the same size as the one that I have in my office, the Euplacephalus skull. But this is an ankylosaur from Mongolia. Really cool. There's the eye socket, there's the nares, the nostrils right up front. And these guys, like a lot of ankylosaurs, have a crazy arrangement of nasal passageways. Going up there and then they may have actually been used to help cool the blood that goes to the animal's brain. These guys would have lived in a very hot climate, and also they would have generated a tremendous amount of body heat just by digesting all of the plant material that they would, that they'd gobble down. There's a ton of fermentation going on in their guts that would generate a lot of heat, so they needed some way to cool off their blood so they don't cook their own brain, Yeah.
I think bronze might be new.
Yeah.
They ask, this week I discovered that Triceratops doesn't really exist because he was a juvenile form of Torosaurus. Is that true?
Yes and no. This is actually still kind of a controversy. But unfortunately, whoever told you that had it exactly backwards. Torosaurus is the one that no longer exists. Triceratops is the one that, since Triceratops was named first, that's the name that we keep. It has priority there. And this research was undertaken at Museum of the Rockies. That's where I used to work back when I lived in Montana. There's some paleontologists who still don't buy this. They think that Triceratops and Torosaurus are different, but I'm convinced. We have so many specimens of Triceratops at Museum of the Rockies. I've seen some stuff that's not been published yet. Once that's published, I think it's going to be a done deal. Torosaurus is just a super mature Triceratops. So eventually, I think you won't see the name Torosaurus as much, but for the time being, there's still some paleontologists who remain unconvinced. So we've got to do a better job of getting this stuff published, and anyway.
About bright coloration, do they require more nutrients to maintain that color?
Probably, yeah. I mean, in modern birds that are brightly colored, the brighter your feathers are, the more vibrant, like the more attractive you are to potential mates. But that's also telling potential mates, like, hey, look at me. I'm so good at acquiring nutrients and surviving in my environment. Like, I can afford to use all these nutrients to make my colors, ever more vibrant. It's a sign of fitness, which would have been in dinosaurs too. Yeah. Great question. I appreciate that. Check this out right here. We've got some Velociraptor right here, a trio of them. And these are kind of 1990s style Velociraptor. This is back when we still thought that they kind of held their wrists like this. See right there? Nowadays, we realize that their wrist articulation is much more bird-like. They would kind of hold their wrists, they'd fold their arms to the sides like this. And as they'd be running, rather than going like this, maybe if their arms are out in front, their palms would be facing each other like that. And also, the bigger thing is, these animals look completely different nowadays. We would reconstruct these completely differently. They'd have feathers all over their bodies. These would look like big, weird, ground-running birds. And I'll show you an example of this in just a minute. You're asking, Laurdee? You had something else?
Yes, Claire would like to know what are the two ceratopsian families?
There's two main subgroups, the Chasmosaurines and the Centrosaurines. And our lovely Styracosaurus here would be a Centrosaurine. This is the group that usually there's more emphasis on the nose horn, and they've got kind of a rounder, maybe shorter frill in the back. Chasmosaurines tend to have longer brow horns. That's the horns above the eyes. They're pretty small here in Styracosaurus. And Chasmosaurines tend to have a more squared off, longer, more rectangular frill. So, anyway, you can look all this up on Wikipedia if you'd like to know more. I wanted to show you this right here.
I love this.
Isn't this cool?
We've been talking about this the whole trip.
We have been,
About how museums have to update their displays. This is really cool.
This is really, really neat. So yesterday we were at the Dinosaur Journey Museum in Fruita, Colorado. And they had an old Utahraptor. I guess it was robotic. I don't know if it still moves around now. I guess it doesn't. But it was all scaly. Because when we first found Utahraptor, nobody realized that these dinosaurs should have feathers all over them. But they took the time and effort and money, and they put feathers on this Utahraptor. It's pretty cool. You should see it. You should take a look at yesterday's VOD if you haven't seen this. But, Stephen Cherkis did these beautiful Deinonychus models back in the 90s. And I actually remember seeing these at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco when I was a kid. But in the late 1990s, we started to realize that dinosaurs like Deinonychus and like Velociraptor probably had feathers. And so, keeping with the times, Stephen Cherkas put feathers all over his Deinonychus thing. And now this is a pretty good representation of what that animal should look like. And it's cool. I like pointing to these particular models because sometimes you get people in the general public who their main exposure to dinosaurs is through movies or stuff like that, through pop culture. They see dinosaurs more as like monsters than as real animals, and they'll go like, feathers on a dinosaur, that's not scary anymore, I don't like that. Like, okay, you're approaching this from the wrong way, but even so, just because you've got feathers on a dromaeosaur like this.
But the paleontologist field isn't narrow to what we understand. On the contrary, we stretch our understanding to try and take in the universe.
If anything, I think it's more visually interesting. So yeah. This is interesting. Cryptovolans. yeah. Oh, and here we've got... This might still be in progress. I think they might be about to re-feather this Deinonychus right here, climbing this tree. But really neat. I love how it just... You come around the corner here and it's just staring at you. You know? You stare at it, it just stares right back. I'm excited to see this when it's done. That's going to be really neat. Yeah. And then, is this an original Greg Paul right here? It is. Holy cow. I've seen this painting so many times in different books of a feathered Deinonychus, two feathered Deinonychus, and this is the original right here. Holy moly.
Is he scratching himself?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Very, very neat. Velociraptor, apparently, by Greg Paul. But this is maybe at the time when he was calling Deinonychus Velociraptor. But yeah. So the concept shown in this painting was very much ahead of its time. Dated 1980 to 1982, it was one of the first illustrations to show feathers on a dromaeosaur. Since that time, new fossil evidence from China has proven this visionary painting to be correct. This is so cool. This is the original right here. Greg Paul, 80 and 82. I wonder if he started this back in 1980 and then decided like, hey, I'm going to put feathers on this dromaeosaur here in 1982. But very cool. This is like before the publication of, Bob Bacher's The Dinosaur Heresies and stuff like that in 1986. So yeah, this was ahead of its time. Really cool. Here's a model of a Deinonychus tail with those ossified tendons running down it, those bony stiffening rods. Awesome. Super cool.
What species was the terror bird? Because the species of raptor reminds me of it.
Oh, there were multiple kinds. It's like a whole family. The Forus rakids are the terror birds. Forus rakos might be the most well-known out of all of them. Forus rakos, Phorusrachos, Forus rakos, if you want to look that up. But yeah, basically those guys are the terror birds, the Forus rakids. They're just doing the same thing that their dinosaur ancestors did. It's kind of cool that there's like a recapitulation there of these animals kind of returning to their roots almost. That's neat stuff. Here, let's go off in this direction. This area's gotten quiet all of a sudden. Ooh, and we've got some various theropods here. Here's Guanlong. This is an early Tyrannosauroid from China. Look at that big cool crest on it. Look at those hollows. This is mostly sculpted, I'm sure, but it's based on real fossil specimens. And so this would have been covered with keratin and life, just like the hornbill. In fact, we have a hornbill right over there, I'll show you. Here, let's skip to this real quick. There we go. Here is a hornbill. This is lovely. I hope you can see that. There's the dark part is the bone, and the lighter part in that crest, a lot of that is keratin, but they kind of meld together. That is just like Guanlong back there. That is so cool. It's funny that these things just kind of keep re-evolving in the theropod lineage. You know, in everything from tyrannosauroids to modern aves, modern birds. Super cool. Is this what is this called? Kakapo? A Kia? These really cool parrots. I think this is a Kia from New Zealand. Is that right? What does the sign say? Oh, Kakapo. Okay, there we go. These birds are super intelligent and really, really playful. If you're watching this as a VOD, maybe right now, if you didn't catch it live, pause this video and look up videos of Kakapos. They just have so much personality and they like kind of roughhouse and play like puppies. Really cool bird. Really, really cool bird. It's fun to like see them do that and then imagining, you know, non-avian dinosaurs doing the same thing. There's a kiwi. Oh, this is cool. It's very rare that I get to see a kiwi like this up close. This is a flightless bird from New Zealand. They are remarkable for a lot of different reasons. I love these long, like, whisker feathers that they have coming off of their faces there. That is so neat. And their feathers they look superficially, like, pretty simple. This is how I might imagine, like, theropod proto-feathers to be. On dinosaurs like Sinosauropteryx, maybe. These still have branches to them. They still have a more complex structure than that, but they've got little hair-like feathers in there, too. I don't know, just seeing something like this makes it easier to imagine what an animal like, you know, Sinosauropteryx might have looked like in life. I know we've got good color information for what Sinosauropteryx would look like, but just trying to imagine the texture of its feathers. I think a kiwi is a pretty good analog for that. Really neat. What a lovely collection of artifacts they have here. Specimens. This is so cool. Here's a cassowary skull. These are really neat. Wow. Super awesome. And look at that casque on the top of its head, that big crest. You know, this changes a lot through ontogeny. As these birds mature, that casque inflates, gets taller, gets more and more prominent. Just like in a lot of dinosaurs that we find. You know, cranial features like that seem to change tremendously through ontogeny. So it's really cool to be able to see this up close. Really, really cool. That's awesome. Over here, there's a baby ostrich right there. Look at those spots.
Izzy asks if the horn would be heavy for them.
No, it's hollow on the inside of the hornbill. You can even see it's kind of translucent. Not only is it hollow, you know, filled with air, but also those air passageways go through the bird's skull. Those are like sinuses in there. Just like almost anything in a bird's skeleton, you know, it's hollow. And it's kind of hooked up to the bird's respiratory system. So every time it takes a breath, you know, that circulates through its body, and it even goes through the bones and through the casque and everything. It's really cool how birds work. I mean, it's difficult for us to imagine as mammals. We have very simple kind of air sac, like balloon lungs. Not very efficient compared to something like birds or non-avian theropod dinosaurs too. It's a pigeon skeleton. Some convergent evolution, like different modes of flight in different animals. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Such an eclectic group of specimens here. What bird is this, laurdee?
I already looked over there.
You already did?
Yeah.
What bird is this, chat? What do you think? What bizarre bird is this? I have low delay mode off, so it might take a minute for people to respond.
Is it the most famous protobird there is?
Oh, this one here?
Archaeopteryx?
No, this is actually something different.
Is it the one from Solnhoven?
No, this is different.
Microraptor.
Yeah, there we go. It's Microraptor. Who said that?
Dark Raven.
Dark Raven, yeah, Microraptor. Famous four-winged dinosaur. It's got big flight feathers coming off of its arms and its legs. Really
It's
bizarre.
handsome.
Isn't that cool?
Somebody says it looks like something from Harry Potter. I think something
Sometimes-
from Harry Potter looks like it.
There you go. This was first. Yeah. It predates J.K. Rowling by, what, 120 million years? Yeah. This probably needs to be updated, though. As beautiful as it is, we actually now have a good sense for the coloration on Microraptor. Even though this is a beautiful color scheme, this should really, should think about maybe redoing it. Or making a cast of it and doing a new one. But we now know that Microraptor is mostly kind of a black color, kind of like maybe an iridescent shimmery kind of black, with like hints of blue and stuff in it too. Pretty neat. Just gorgeous. I'll give you a view from above as well. I can bring the camera up there even if I can't get my head up there. Check out those claws on the hind feet there. It's got that big digit 2 claw, just like in dromaeosaur dinosaurs, that sickle claw. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And here we've got some Scansoriopteryx hatchlings. Oh, there's one at least. I don't know what happened to the other one. Maybe it fell through. But that's pretty nifty. I like that. Yeah. It is possible that baby Scansoriopteryx were either pushed out of the nest or, while testing its climbing abilities between branches, slipped and fell into the fine lake sediments below. Then it was preserved in the delicate detail that you see in the photographs of the fossil. Right here. Look at that. Now, when this was named, I think it was maybe named as like a mature animal. They're like, look at this super tiny, weird dinosaur. It looks really primitive. It's almost certainly a hatchling. Yeah, very cool. All right, we've got a little pterosaur over here. Who is this? Pterorhynchus. I'm not familiar with this genus. It has the most information about the soft body tissues and head crest of any pterosaur ever discovered. The fossil revealed the presence of protofeathers, which look much like down feathers, that covered the body. So we're not still 100% sure that those are protofeathers. Maybe there's something evolved independently. Usually in pterosaurs we call them pycnofibers. Preserve the shape of the body, the color pattern of the skull crest, parts of the wings and tail, a beard-like pouch under the neck. This model carefully follows the information we have from the fossil. Pretty neat. That is gorgeous.
Javasaur says this one probably ate fish, if those teeth are right.
I would imagine so, yeah. A lot of the bigger pterosaurs were probably mostly fish eaters, especially if they have that kind of basket of interlocking teeth like that. Oh, and here we've got some lovely casts of different dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds. Beautiful, yeah. Really cool. These look like pterodactylus down here. Yeah, there's that famous pterodactylus from Germany, Solnhofen. There's a pterodastro skull. It's funny, I always pictured pterodastro being so much bigger than that. Is pterodastro that size? I don't know enough. So look at that skull right there. It's got that's the lower jaw that you see at the bottom with all these big bristle-like hairs, almost like a whale's baleen or something.
Yeah.
Sticking up out of it. We think these guys were filter feeders, kind of like flamingos.
JP Goosey asks, what does a fossil feather look like?
They look like that. There's Archaeopteryx right there, the Berlin specimen of Archaeopteryx. That's a cast. But sometimes they look like that, where they're just kind of impressions in the rock. Sometimes they are, I can show you over there with Confuciusornis. In fact, let's take a look over there real quick. There's some lovely, really, really big photos over here. These are what fossil feathers look like on some of these Cretaceous or earliest Cretaceous or latest Jurassic birds from China, Confuciusornis. I love, these must have been super high-res photos to be blown up this big. Look at that. Just gorgeous. And so they actually have preserved the rachis in the middle, the kind of vein running down the flight feathers, and then all of these little branches with the barbules on them. Super neat. And then 2 long tail feathers right there, extending out there. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So there's the slab and the counter slab. These come from, like sedimentary slabs. I think Liaoning, these would be limestone, I guess, yeah. And so you kind of get 2 fossils in one. One half and the other half. Just splits open like a book. Pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Izzy asks, is it common now to find dinos with feathers?
In places like Liaoning in China, yes, certainly, yeah. There's been like a big boom in the 1990s where the first few came out and then everybody went there and looked, and it turns out there's a whole lot there. And so we find them kind of on the regular now. And it turns out that a lot of different dinosaur groups that we didn't realize had feathers, now we realize they did because of these super well-preserved fossils from China. Here's one of those Chinese animals. This is Caudipteryx right here. This is an Oviraptorosaur. Yeah, I love sculpting feathers like this out of hard material. That must have been so time-consuming. I would be tempted to just make like, kind of like the clone stamp in Photoshop, but like do that in physical form. Just have like a little mold that I could go doop, 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 like that. I kind of wonder if that's what Stephen Cherkas did for this. Really cool.
Lynn Player asks, are there fossils that haven't been studied because they are part of a private collection?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, that's... This is a particular soapbox of mine, but there are some incredible fossils around the world that could tell us so much about what ancient life was like, and we can't get at that when we can't study them because people have them in private collections, and if something's in a private collection, you really can't study it scientifically. You can't ensure that it will be there for future study either, because what happens if this person dies? What happens if they decide to sell it? You know, what happens if whoever inherits their collection doesn't give you access to it? So if a fossil is privately owned, in a lot of cases that means it's basically lost to science. It might as well not exist. It's really sad. And in the case of these wonderful feathered Chinese, birds and dinosaurs and dino birds, a lot of these have been smuggled out of the country illegally, and they are lost to science. Yeah. Turns out that wealthy people can be really selfish about this kind of thing. Maybe that's how they got wealthy in the first place.
Okay, a couple questions that kind of go together.
Yeah.
Are feathered fossil discoveries heavily influenced by climates? Do arid climate discoveries have more or less features? And any particular reason that region/time frame left feathered fossils?
Well, in the case of Liaoning, the Yixian Formation that a lot of these awesome feathered dinosaurs come out of, like Caudipteryx right here, this is a photo of the original specimen of Caudipteryx, with those feathers on it. So these they come out of probably like a shallow lake, much like Solnhofen in Germany, where Archaeopteryx is from. It's a similar kind of environment. That we think was like a shallow lagoon, but the water was relatively calm. Like really, really fine-grained sediment would cover up these animals after they would settle down to the bottom. And also, it seems to be an anoxic environment too. So at the bottom of this shallow, calm lake, it's got very fine-grained sediment, not a whole lot of motion to mess things up, not strong current or anything, but also not a lot of oxygen in the water. So you don't have a lot of microorganisms in there to decompose everything and digest it, and it's just like you'd have layer after layer of really fine-grained sediment that would just settle down really gently and kind of cover these things up. And then you have levels of detail in the preservation that you don't have in almost any other kind of environment. In the J-hole biota, the Yushan Formation, and Liaoning, all of those conditions were present, but there was also some volcanic ash, too. Some of these animals may have actually died after like a volcanic eruption. And that may have also contributed to like this anoxic environment in the water, where not a lot of other critters could breathe there. You don't have like lots of little fishes and crabs and invertebrates feeding on these guys because there's no oxygen in the water. Yeah. I only have I have a faint understanding of all this. I've not really studied the J-hole biota or that preservational environment that much. That's kind of what I remember from hearing friends and colleagues talk about it. So yeah. Oh, I just want to show you this real quick too. This is the same animal right here. Maybe this is a female and that's a male. He's a little bit more brightly colored. And he's got that big pronounced beard. Pretty cool.
Ready? Do you want to do another little intro? We have 130 people.
That's great. Yeah. Here, take this off real quick because there's nobody else in the room. Fully vaccinated, but trying to be courteous with the masks. Hey, everybody who might be new here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. Just trying to do some science outreach here on Twitch, answering people's questions, sharing my passion for paleontology with everybody. And this right here is laurdee.
I'm laurdee. I'm from Cooking with laurdee. Usually I'm doing cooking content, but right now I'm on this awesome road trip with Danny.
Yeah, you should follow her if you, I don't know if you're one of those people who, like eat food, but if you are, she makes really excellent food and she can teach you how to do that a little bit better. Her streams are a lot of fun. I show up on her channel a lot too, so if you want to see more of me, you should give her a follow.
Yeah.
But she's been a great travel companion this whole trip. You've just been awesome.
Oh, we've been having fun.
Yeah, it's been really neat. So anyway, we're here at the Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah right now. And we were looking at this marvelous collection of fossil specimens and casts and paintings and big models from Stephen and Sylvia Cherkis, some really well-known paleo artists. And this has been really cool. We weren't expecting to do a stream today from a museum, but we just kind of stumbled in here, and so glad we did. This has been awesome so far.
Is there a clear understanding of the Jurassic food chain?
During the Jurassic period specifically? Or just in general? Yeah, I mean, usually no. Usually our picture of an ancient ecosystem like that is pretty incomplete.
On formal occasions, he's called Brontosaurus.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this a little while ago, where there's these environments where you've got all of these big predatory dinosaurs, Allosaurus, Torvosaurus, and Ceratosaurus all living in the same place. We don't really know what they're doing differently from each other, so that you could have three big species of theropod all coexisting in the same environment. Maybe it's like in, we were talking about like in the African Serengeti, where you have lions and leopards and cheetahs, they might be living within a square mile of each other sometimes. Maybe it's like that, where they're kind of partitioning their niches. They're each eating a different thing, or they're each going after a different type of prey, or living in a slightly different habitat or something. Yeah. For the most part, the further back you go in time, the more ancient ecosystems become different from what we have today, and the harder it is to try and figure this stuff out. I say that now, but we know so much more than we used to about this stuff, and that's one of the really exciting things about paleontology, is especially dinosaur paleontology. We learn new things so quickly, and like paradigms can shift pretty rapidly. So yeah. I feel like I had to take my mask off before I show you this. Hang on. Do we have another question real quick first?
We have a couple questions
Okay,
here.
let's do it.
I'm going to skip just a couple. Was there an intermediate environmental need for the development of feathers other than flight?
Yes,
like
absolutely. Warmth is a good one. Also display. In fact, it may be that, I'll show you over here, these pterosaurs. If indeed these guys have proto-feathers, we know they have some kind of hair-like filament on them. You can see this on this sculpture right here. We don't know if this is homologous to feathers. We don't know if this is the same root structure as feathers, or whether this is something that they evolved independently. I'm guessing it probably is the same root structure. It could be that the ancestors of both dinosaurs and pterosaurs, the common ancestor that they share, had some kind of, covering like this that would have been used mostly for insulation. These were warm-blooded animals, we think, so they used that for warmth. And later they exapted it. They kind of took advantage of it for other purposes too, for display or eventually for flight. But pterosaurs like this, they did not use if those are indeed feathers on them, they didn't use those feathers for flight. Their wing membranes are stretched skin, kind of like a bat, but probably much more graceful and complex than a bat. I could go into more detail about that later, but yeah, feathers, if they did evolve indeed in the ancestor of pterosaurs and dinosaurs, they didn't evolve for flight. They evolved probably for warmth, maintaining body temperature, for heating up and cooling off, then for display, and then only after that for flight in theropod dinosaurs that became birds. Yeah.
One last question here.
Yeah.
Do we know if there were more herbivores than carnivores?
Yes, certainly more herbivores than carnivores. If you're talking about just raw numbers of individuals, you have to have more herbivores than their predators. If you've got more meat eaters than you've got meat to eat, it's not a good thing. It doesn't work out.
Right.
And in terms of diversity too, like meat-eating theropods versus everything else, there would be, other dinosaurs would definitely outnumber the meat-eating theropods for sure. This, I'm super excited to show you. This is one of my study animals right here. This is a scale model of Suchomimus. And this must have been made right after the description of Suchomimus, or maybe even before, 1998. I think it was the same year, it was 98 or 97 that Suchomimus was first described. My undergraduate advisor was one of the authors on that paper. Serino
Really
et al.
spectacular.
1997, I think. This is a Spinosaurid. It's got these lovely, super long, narrow jaws. These crocodile-like teeth mostly lacking the serrations that other big theropod dinosaurs had. Teeth are very conical. They look like crocodile teeth. They've been mistaken for crocodile teeth in the past. It's got these massive forelimbs, really, really heavily built. And that actually factors into some of my current work on these guys. I've got an upcoming paper about Spinosaurids that I'm really hoping to finish soon. And so if anybody's watching right now and they're new to this channel, once I finish up with this road trip, I hope you stick around and you watch my streams from my office back in Oakland, California, because I'll be working on this paper, doing the illustrations, getting it ready for publication. I'll be doing a lot of that live on Twitch, which is going to be pretty cool, I think, to be able to kind of take you along through the scientific process, show you what it's like to get something ready for publication. Yeah, really cool animal.
Pontius Pirate gifted us up to Patty on tour.
Thank you, Pontius Pirate. Really appreciate that. Yeah.
And we're wondering, would male dinos be more flamboyant looking than females, like how we see in modern dinos?
Probably, yeah. That's just kind of part of being male in the animal world, is that, you're not the one who has to carry the eggs, you're the one who has to be, compete for the female's attention. You're going to have to be a little bit more showy. Yeah. Dinosaurs don't seem to be very sexually dimorphic in terms of their skeleton. Male and female dinosaur skeletons, as far as we can tell, they seem to be pretty much identical. Which is not super surprising, because if you look at birds, it's pretty much the same way. Birds tend to distinguish themselves, the different sexes will be sized differently, but also they'll be colored differently. Different plumage, different feathers. They've got also different colors on their heads and on their beaks. Yeah, dinosaurs are probably the same way. And generally speaking, the males would probably be the more, vivid, flamboyant ones, I'd imagine. Yeah. Man, I can't get enough of this Suchomimus here. This is so cool. And check this out. This is a baryonyx claw right here. I have a cast of this, or rather a 3D print at home. I'm very familiar with this specimen. This is the one at the British Museum. So that's the bony core right there. And if you go around the side, There it is reconstructed with the keratin on the top. So birds are kind of the same way, where they've got a bony core to their claws, but that doesn't show you how big the actual claw would be in life. That's really neat. I love that. I think this maps out to like how big the claw should be with the keratin sheath over the top. Really neat. Yeah. The sheath can be and often is much larger than the size of the actual bone. Yeah.
What do they say about Suchomimus tails? Were they similar to what they say about Spinosaurus?
We don't really have evidence of that for Suchomimus. I think we've got a pretty decent tail on the type specimen of Suchomimus. This is a great question, by the way. Just let me say that. Yeah, that's I think why a lot of paleontologists are kind of skeptical of the like big fishy tail, big eel-like tail on Spinosaurus, is because we don't really see that in other Spinosaurids. It could be that Spinosaurus is just super weird and different. Or it could be that there's something else more fishy going on there too. But as far as I know, these guys may have had fairly flexible tails compared to other dinosaurs. I could see that happening with the shape of the vertebrae. But yeah, no evidence of like the crazy, sculling tail of Spinosaurus on Suchomimus, as far as I know. Yeah.
The checkboard says if you clip a bird claw too far, they can bleed life-threateningly. Same for dinosaurs?
Probably, yeah, because that keratin, like over here, that's not like just dead material. It needs, nutrients. So this right here, you see that big groove on the claw? That like big indentation? That we often call the blood groove or the nutrient groove on the claw. So there's that's a big blood supply right there that supplies the keratin with nutrients in order to help keep it healthy and keep it growing. So yeah, if you say this is, you've got a giant pair of nail clippers and you want to clip that, you got to be careful not to sever that big vein or artery right there. Yeah. Great question. These are great. I'm getting great questions today.
Dark Raven. I think Spinosaurus is the only Spinosaurid that has derived features, short legs, tail, etc. Is that correct?
If it does. The thing is, Spinosaurus itself is a mess right now. It's a chimera, so there are probably multiple different kinds of Spinosaurid that are all getting lumped into Spinosaurus from different times and different places. I mean, there were those, if you look at Serino and Ibrahim's reconstruction from 2014, I think, they're taking different elements from Stromer's Spinosaurus from Egypt. They're taking, parts from Moroccan Spinosaurus. They're taking parts from specimens from other parts of North Africa. And we don't have good dates on all these things. We don't know exactly how old they are. These are not all going to be the same animal. So there's something really fishy going on with that Spinosaurus. And I can't talk about that too much right now, but hopefully eventually we'll get that sorted out.
Digging up dinosaurs is hard, frustrating work. It takes months or years, so leave it to the professionals.
Thank you, Pontius Pirate. I really appreciate that.
And Reno said that the Suchomimus looks like it's pushing down its broken down Jeep.
I would agree with that. Oh, man, yeah. I wonder if when this was made originally there would be water right here with fishes swimming through or something. I could totally see that being the case. Yeah. So cool. This is so lovely. I didn't know that Cherkis ever did a Suchomimus like this. So this is amazing to be able to see this. And there's so much here that I want to tell you about that I can't because this stuff is still unpublished. But there are I could stand here and talk about this all day. But let's not do that. Let's move on to the next room, laurdee. Before we take too long in here and before I give away too much unpublished stuff. Cool. I love the Parasaurolophus on the wall over there. This is so great. I'm so glad we stopped. I'm having so much fun here. This is one of my favorite museums so far, honestly.
Why so many unpublished secrets?
Because it's taken me way too long to publish so far. I don't know.
I think the idea is why so secretive?
it's just because I have co-authors and I don't want to be blabbing about this. If it were a single authorship paper, I'd be cool with that. But it's like I've got colleagues that I'm working with, and they might get mad if if I talk about this stuff too much. Here, I love these posters right here. These are so cool. I have a poster for this same movie in my office, Unknown Island. They just basically stole a Charles R. Knight illustration of a painting of Tyrannosaurus. And Colossal, a new world of adventures from a world of 60 million years ago. It's funny, 60 million years ago would be like the Paleocene. That would already be in the Age of Mammals. I didn't go back far enough. That's the posters of Gorgo. This is so cool. It's like dinosaur pop culture stuff here. Yeah. An odd British like dinosaur monster movie, Gorgo. There aren't too many of those. There's Gorgo, and then there's the giant behemoth, and I think that might be it.
Is paleontology more a one-man show, or is it mostly teamwork?
Teamwork, very much teamwork. Yeah. You'll hardly find any papers nowadays that are published that are a sole authorship. Almost all of them are a joint effort between different researchers. Yeah. Maybe not quite as joint as this, but using a non-traditional subject matter, the skilled carver of this piece is following in the artistic tradition of generations of wood carvers from Indonesia. This beautiful piece reflects the rich cultural heritage of woodwork and craftsmanship from Indonesia. That's astonishing. That must have been like this is probably made to order. That's super cool. Very interesting mode of prey capture here too. I don't know if this is well supported by fossil evidence, but it is beautiful nonetheless. Oh, very cool. We've got ilium and pubic elements. These are real fossil bone here. We have a big old hip bone. That is enormous. Some kind of diplodocid. Yeah, they appear to be from a huge apatosaurus, which is more popularly known as brontosaurus. Can we get some apatosaurs going in the chat? Oh, super cool. Oh, and here's another Tyrannosaurus right here. Lovely King Kong poster back there. This is so cool. The animal world. I think I actually have clips of that as notifications in this channel. I think that was some Ray Harryhausen early work. The animal world. Yeah. And then the beast from 20,000 fathoms. I think I have some clips from this too. There's the giant. Even this is the other British like dinosaur monster movie that I was talking about a minute ago. They've got like a giant, really angry sauropod that they call Paleosaurus in this. And then here, of course, Godzilla. This is so cool. Is this Italian or Portuguese? This poster right here? Luigi Cosi presenta. That must be this must be an Italian poster for Godzilla. Wow. I love the inclusion of the mushroom cloud in this. That's... Yeah. If anybody's seen the original 1954 Godzilla film, it's a really somber affair. It's really, really dark. It's a really morose film. Because it's kind of, like the Japanese film industry kind of dealing with the legacy of World War II and of having been nuked twice by the United States. Yeah. It's kind of like a way to grapple with the horror of nuclear annihilation, personified in a giant radioactive dinosaur. Yeah, super cool. Man, these awesome posters here. This is so neat. This is one of those films where they just took, yeah, some of the same footage there, I think. They just took, like, alligators or lizards and, like, glued fins and frills and stuff to them and called them dinosaurs in the film. How are we doing on time here, Lordy?
It's 106.
106? We've been here for like an hour?
An hour.
Okay. This film was just called Dinosaurus. Oh, kid looks pretty excited there. How would you describe, what emotion is that kid portraying there? Got a poster of that film on my wall in my office too. Carnivorous ceratopsian, perhaps. The beast from 20,000 fathoms. Oh, this is the Beast of Hollow Mountain, isn't it? Very cool. I've never seen this poster before. That's pretty nifty. I like that a lot. Oh, wow, we've got some cool stuff in here. I had no idea. I'm super excited to show you this. Before we do that, let me just show you a few more posters through here. El Mundo Perdido. What is that? The Lost World. By Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So the same guy who wrote the Sherlock Holmes books and created that character also created one of the best known works of fiction, with dinosaurs in it. The Lost World. It was a novel that inspired, I don't know how many different movies and other novels, bits of like paleo-themed fiction. Yeah. Someday we'll watch this film live. We'll do like a special event for that because it's from 1925. Copyright is expired. No DMCA. That'll be a lot of fun, I think. It's got brilliant stop-motion animation dinosaurs by Willis O'Brien, the same guy who did the stuff for King Kong in 1933. He did that for The Lost World in 1925. And his dinosaurs are honestly ahead of their time. They're far more dynamic and active and, social and intelligent, everything else. Far more than the paleontologists thought at the time. He did it in the service of drama, just make things more interesting, but it turns out it's actually more scientifically accurate than like the scientifically accurate dinosaurs of the day, which is cool. Yeah. Pretty cool. Wait, the original Lost World? Silent version of The Lost World was the first full-length motion picture featuring dinosaurs. The story is based on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's 1912 novel of a prehistoric world located on a remote South American plateau. The dinosaurs were completely accurate, representing what was known to science at that time. I would argue better than accurate. They were ahead of their time. More than 50 miniature models of the dinosaurs were constructed based on the restorations created by museum artist Charles R. Knight. Willis O'Brien used a stop-motion photography technique to create the world of dinosaurs. Watching this movie was the closest thing to seeing live dinosaurs, which created a very great influence on the public's knowledge and perception of dinosaurs. And apparently there are some people who actually wrote, wrote in the newspapers and stuff. They were convinced that, this couldn't have been special effects. They were too good. They must have actually filmed some real dinosaurs. So I think this might be regarded that. Oh man. Wow. This is so funny. I guess in the world of COVID, this is like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So apparently this guy is writing in, Oliver. Hang on, do I have this right? I sent you a denial and asked you in all fairness to devote the same amount of space to the truth as you did to the untruth, but you did not give me a fair break inasmuch as you ran my denial and explanation in a hideaway spot. I have to offer to prove my contentions that no prehistoric monster shown in the film is less than 32 feet in length from the nose to the tip of its tail. Wait, what is this about? I'm gonna have to just like take a screenshot of this later and try and figure it out, because this is confusing. And the way that people wrote back then was so florid and like just, I don't know, get to the point, you know? Trying to sound smarter than you are. I think this was a Ray Harryhausen project that never actually saw completion, evolution. Pretty cool. I don't even know what this is. Mystery of life. Once again, this fallacy that human beings and non-avian dinosaurs inhabited the Earth together. They never did. This probably would have been pretty racy for the time, too, back in the 1920s. And here are some Charles R. Knight prints right here. Charles R. Knight, one of the most famous and influential like dinosaur illustrators of all time, one of the most prominent and influential paleo artists. This is some of his work. And you will see this stuff just basically copied wholesale again and again and again, and tons and tons of media from the early 20th century. This is one of the earliest recreations of Tyrannosaurus ever. I think it's just shortly after its discovery. Charles Knight painted this. This is his Trachodon, now known as Edmontosaurus. There's a lovely Triceratops. This is what we used to call Agathamus. This is now a dubious genus of ceratopsian dinosaur. It was known from just a few little fragments, and then really fanciful illustrations based on those few fragments. I'm not even sure what those fragments might be. I think it's from the Judas, so they're probably something like Monoclonius or Centrosaurus or something like that. And look at that, that's gorgeous. Remember there was that movie poster I showed you back there with the Tyrannosaurus fighting? This is that illustration that was just stolen from. Another Charles R. Knight picture.
This drawer contains
very cool.
all of the North American identified specimens.
Some more Charles Knight. Stegosaurus, Brontosaurus, and Diplodocus, Allosaurus, and Dryptosaurus, what's known as Laelaps. Really, really famous paintings here. These are so cool. And there's Charles Knight himself. He was notoriously nearsighted. His eyes, I don't know, he had really, really thick glasses. And you can kind of see that in this painting here. But one of his greatest joys was just hanging out at the zoo in New York. I think at the Brooklyn Zoo. Just watching animals for hours and hours on end and sketching them. And it was that kind of insight that allowed him to paint and sketch and otherwise resurrect all of these different extinct animals. Show them in much more lifelike, dynamic poses than any other artist at the time. It's what made him a legend. This is Ornitholestes, whose name means bird thief, and what do you know, it's stealing a bird. Yeah, the man who created dinosaurs, Charles Robert Knight. Very cool. Even though Knight never worked directly on any particular dinosaur movie, his artwork was nonetheless responsible for dictating how dinosaurs should look in motion pictures. And this stuff was, cutting edge science at the time. Yeah, Charles R. Knight. Oh, are these some original pieces by Knight? Wow. Very cool. Look at that. This is so cool. This has to be one of the coolest museums I've been in so far. This is amazing. Smilodon right there. Just gorgeous. Yeah. Here's an original drawing. Wow. By Edward Drinker Cope. One of the two paleontologists, engaged in the great bone wars of the late 19th century. Wow, Cope made that with his own hand. Original drawing by Edward Drinker Cope. This has been really early on, too. Laelaps anguillus. And that's some sort of plesiosaur, I think. Back when he had his plesiosaurs backwards. It's such a cool story. I'll tell you that story sometime. With this backwards Elasmosaurus. Yeah. And there we go. Very cool. Wow, a little starstruck here. It's cool. Paleontology is one of those sciences where sometimes you'll come across a specimen or a note or an illustration or something like that. You'll find it in the museum collections. And you'll go, holy cow, this is collected by Othniel Charles Marsh or Edward Drinker Cope or Joseph Leidy or, C.M. Sternberg or somebody like that. And not only are you dealing with just a really cool object, in the case of like a fossil. It's laurdee. Hey. Like who's walking around the corner? I can put my mask back on. Not only are you dealing with like a really cool specimen that might be tens of millions of years old and has all kinds of significance of its own, but it's enmeshed within the history of paleontology. And it's just makes you realize that this is a small field. And yeah, I don't know. Being part of it like that, it's a cool feeling. It's a cool feeling. This is neat. Stop motion animation set. Wow. Is this original? Oh, Stephen Cherkas created this in 2001. Pretty neat. Wow. I wonder if I can put the camera through.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. Neat. So this is the same way that you would animate things with stop motion. You have the model right up here with some scenery there, and you have a matte painting behind and some stuff in the foreground to give it a sense of depth. And then let's see if I can adjust the camera and show you properly. Pretty neat, right? Hopefully that worked. Did that work? I hope it did. Isn't that cool? Really, really cool. This right here, oh my goodness. This is the King Kong brontosaur right here. Oh my god, this is the original. From 1933, during the making of King Kong. This is the original maquette. Used in stop motion animation, super cool. This was used as the Brontosaurus in King Kong and the more fanciful sea beast in Son of Kong. It must be that thing up there. Wow. Really awesome. It was designed like a stop motion model but modified with cables so that it could be used for live action photography too. This was necessary for scenes in which the model had to rise out of the water and splash about while attacking the actors. The actors in these scenes were also miniature puppets that were loosely jointed so they could move naturally as the dinosaur tossed them about. I wish I could like intersplice the clip from this. That is so cool. That is so cool. When I do like the big roundup at the end of this and I assemble all of these like clips from different museum streams into one big video that I'll put on YouTube, I'll make sure I intersplice that because that's really cool. Awesome. And this is a Charles R. Knight model? Holy cow, wow. This Charles R. Knight model was based on a 1905 skeleton of a Brontosaurus/Apatosaurus, which was the first ever to go on public view. This model was displayed next to the giant skeleton. It influenced many artists and filmmakers such as Herbert M. Dolly. In 1917, Dolly saw the Knight model on view at the American Museum of Natural History in New York and inspired him to make his own models come to life using stop-motion animation. And the first realistically animated dinosaur film, The Ghost of Slumber Mountain. Really cool. I have a poster featuring that on the wall of my office at home. Gertie the dinosaur. Wow. One of the earliest animated cartoons ever made. Gertie the dinosaur is actually really cool. It holds up in a way you wouldn't expect it to. It's one of the first animated cartoons. Very cool. Cartoons were rarities at the time, but McKay made it even more unique by turning it into a vaudeville act in which he and the dinosaur interacted with each other. Very cool. We've got some of these Charles R. Knight sculptures. Wow. Columbian and woolly mammoths, I'm sure. So awesome. This is incredible. This is so cool. How have I never been here before? Looks like this is kind of a workshop space back here. There's the Cherkis Stegosaurus right there. Pretty neat. Oh, and a Knight Triceratops. Oh my goodness. Knight would often use his sculpted models as guides for his paintings. This model and his 1901 Triceratops prorsus painting, produced for the Smithsonian, were based on the giant mounted skeletons from the collections of the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. Wow. Very, very cool. Very cool. He looks pretty happy there. Aren't you so happy about Triceratops? Oh, man. Very cool. We've got Dinochirus here? Holy moly. Oh, man, everybody. This is super cool. We have a Tyrannosaur skeleton right here being chased by Dinochirus. Yeah, so Tarbosaurus and Dinochirus arms. Several skeletons of Tarbosaurus have been found in Mongolia. The Tarbosaurus skeleton is shown in a fast running pose, trying to escape the grasp of the huge arms of another carnivorous dinosaur, Dinochirus. The rest of the Dinochirus skeleton has not been discovered and remains a mystery. If not for the discovery of the arms of Dinochirus, there would be no knowledge that such a remarkable dinosaur ever existed. This demonstrates that any fossil, even a single bone, or an incomplete part of the skeleton, may represent something new to science. I love that. So, the arms of Dinochirus were for a long time pretty much the only part known from that animal. Arms and a handful of rib fragments, I think. The name Dinochirus means terrible arms, and here it's shown chasing a Tyrannosaur, Tarbosaurus. We now know Dinochirus was not actually a meat-eating dinosaur at all. It was a big, weird, herbivorous ornithomimosaur. I could tell you an awesome story about in 2013 at SVP. I was in the audience when everybody found out about this before it was published. So we all knew, and we had to keep tight-lipped about it for about, I don't know, it was close to a year, I think, before it actually went public. But that was a magical, magical time. So that's really cool to see this. This is from before that discovery was announced, when they found the rest of the skeleton of Dinochirus, including the skull. But what a cool mount here. That is so neat. This is really awesome. What's that? Dinochirus? Yeah, but they may have been washed in, I think.
Fish scales.
Yeah. Or maybe it ate them too. We don't really know. Yeah. This talks about the developmental stages of feathers. This is pretty cool. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Super neat. I'm going to continue into the next room here. Look at that. My goodness. Just in the center of the room. Do you know what that is, laurdee? Got these weird... These used to be meat-eating dinosaurs, and they evolved to eat plants. We saw some of them at the museum in Salt Lake. I don't necessarily expect you to remember the name. But this is... Therizinosaurus.
The lineage does that.
Yeah. Look at how big this is.
I did not realize that these were this big.
This might be a little bit larger than the largest Therizinosaurs that we actually have, but I would not be shocked if they actually got this big too. Look at that. I've seen pictures of this room before, but it really didn't do it justice. This is incredible. What a monstrous animal.
Look for scale. Go back and see how
Yeah.
how my head.
So laurdee, you are what?
I'm like 7'3".
7'3". Look at how tall this animal is by comparison. Just astonishing. So it is an intimidating animal, isn't it? This is a plant eater. We don't really have... I don't know if those teeth really match up with what we know Therizinosaur teeth look like. They should be more like simple and peg-like, or maybe kind of leaf-shaped. I'm trying to think of my Erlikosaurus skull that I have at home. Yeah. But anyway, this belongs to the group of theropod dinosaurs. Most theropods are meat eaters, but the Therizinosaurs, despite being descended from meat-eating dinosaurs, they evolved to eat plants. They became really big in some cases, like you see here. Really slow-moving. They kind of adopted this upright Godzilla-type pose. Their tails shortened because they didn't need them for balance anymore. And of course they had feathers all over their bodies. These guys are pretty close to birds. These are Maniraptor theropods, so they're from the same group as Velociraptor, Deinonychus, and Oviraptorosaurs, and those guys. Pretty cool. Wow, I could just walk around this all day. Very neat. And they had four-toed feet, too, unlike other theropods. I mean, in most theropod dinosaurs, I should say the first toe rather than the fourth one. The first one is just vestigial, kind of hangs out in the back, off the ground. And these guys, that first toe, it's the inside toe there, actually turned around to contact the ground, give these animals extra purchase and extra weight-bearing capability.
So Lenina asks, so they were actually more upright? So would they have
These guys were.
on 2 feet?
Yeah, I mean, all theropods walked on 2 feet, but they walked upright, like, rather than most theropod dinosaurs whose backbones are kind of parallel to the ground, these guys are more up like Godzilla, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Or like a kangaroo or something like that. Yeah. Probably to... You know, they didn't have to run very fast anymore, and I guess it's just one of those things where, like... I've talked about this a lot. When you're a theropod dinosaur, and you've got to balance on 2 legs, there's a few different ways to do it. These guys are like, we're just going to tilt our spines up, and that way we can make our arms big and heavy and everything. And we're still shifting our center of gravity backward, and sacrificing speed for just getting big and having a big old gut for digesting plants. So cool. This is amazing. I can't believe we weren't even going to stop here. I'm so glad we did. I just love this collection of dinosaur ephemera too. This is so cool. I have a copy of this at home. This is Life magazine. Can we see the back there? Yeah, I have that same one at home, that Life magazine back there. We'll have to do a stream where I go through this. That'd be a lot of fun. Maybe I can find an important anniversary or something. But this is the Zallinger mural. Rudolf Zallinger painted this at the Yale Peabody Museum. It is still there today. I think it's currently being restored. There's some various comic books. Godzilla. Very cool. And the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Oh my goodness. This is one of my very favorite short stories written by Ray Bradbury. I actually have a YouTube video all about this that you should check out. Yeah. A beautiful, like, kind of a story that tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. Yeah. The monster came on a foggy night to claw at the lighthouse that tormented it. This is kind of sensationalizing a little bit, like a pulp story, but it's much more sentimental than that. I think you'll like it if you're a fan of thoughtful, kind of melancholy science fiction. You'll really like the title of the story itself, published outside of Harper's Magazine or whatever, is The Foghorn, but here it's been called The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. It's a story that inspired the movie The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which later inspired Godzilla. So you can kind of trace the origin of Godzilla back to this story, published in this magazine way back then, in the Saturday Evening Post. Really cool, really cool.
Did they make a kinematic rig / movement model for the Therizinosaurus?
I don't think anybody has, no. That would be really cool to do. Just to try and gain some insight about how these animals would move and what the weight distribution and posture should be, all that stuff, yeah. There's that same Charles R. Knight Tyrannosaurus fighting thing on the poster for Unknown Island. Yeah, laurdee?
Everyone's asking to see the croc.
Oh, you want to see the... Okay. I don't actually know what this is about. This wouldn't be from Lake Placid, would it?
I'll let you get in there.
I think it's just a big crocodile. I don't see a sign explaining it. But yeah. Yeah, this would be about the size of, like... Actually, no, this would be bigger than Deinosuchus, I think. Bigger than Sarcosuchus, too. I don't think any crocodile ever actually got this big that we know of. I've seen a huge Purosaurus skull at UCMP, and I've helped move it. It's, like, half the size of this. I don't think any crocodile actually got that big. King Kong. We've got... Are these made of recycled materials?
Recyclosaurus.
Oh, these skeletons were originally made for the 1939 motion picture Bringing Up Baby. You really like that movie?
I love that movie.
I don't think I would like... I've watched a few minutes of it, and I'm like, this is stressing me out.
It's the original Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
I guess I'm not a fan of the original Manic Pixie Dream Girl. But yeah. Especially how it ends, too. I've seen the clip of the ending. That's like nightmare fuel for a paleontologist. Yeah. Well, yeah, anyway. In these films, the skeletons were used to create the appearance of the museum exhibit hall. Oh, this is also from The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. That's so cool. Wow. Very cool. And here's the original right here. Stegosaurus. It's pretty decent for, like, a museum, or for a movie facade. There's a three-fingered Tyrannosaurus. Very cool. And then here is... I don't know who this is supposed to be. Some of the skeleton says Hadrosaur, but the head says, who cares? Yeah.
Could you, Dark Raven, could you give some insight onto Therizinosaur claw use, please? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that subject.
Yeah. Let's go take a look. We'll go past these dromaeosaurs real quick. But yeah, those claws right there. That's about how long they should be, I guess. Therizinosaurs, as they become... Well, as you go through time and they become more and more derived, they develop these really, really long, muscular forelimbs with these super long claws at the end. These are probably like rakes for pulling down vegetation, bringing it closer to their mouths. Because these guys were herbivores. So think of those claws being used to reach up into the treetops, just grab
On formal
branches and
occasions,
stuff,
he's called
kind of rake them
Brontosaurus.
downward
Big
to get
fella,
within
isn't
range
he?
of that big mouth.
70 feet long.
That little
Tips
mouth.
the scales at a substantial
It's big here,
35
but they've got a
tons.
small head compared to their body size. Yeah, does that make sense? Kind of like we think ground sloths would have used their arms for. I don't know if that helps at all. I'm using one extinct animal whose behavior is speculative as an analogy to explain another extinct animal whose behavior is speculative. Here, I wonder if these are the same Deinonychus at the California Academy of Sciences from when I was a kid. I bet you they are. Those are gorgeous. Yeah. So these are the velociraptors of Jurassic Park. Actually, Deinonychus. These are about life size, if not slightly larger than life size. And this is the original kind of scaly version. Really pretty. Here's another one right here.
Javasaur says, and by extension of that, wouldn't
Deinonychus?
Dinocurius?
Dinocyrus?
Dinocyrus have used the same strategies for their claws?
Presumably, yeah. Yeah. Also, Therizinosaurus and Dinocyrus, if they were hassled by a big theropod, just reach out and get them with the claws. Big claws can be really useful for a lot of stuff.
Are these the same animal, just one with feathers and one without?
So
That's
these
a
are
cool...
the old ones.
Yeah.
And these are the new ones. Updated with feathers. Gorgeous. And I love the pose on the foot there with the sickle claw kind of curling inward like that. It really reminds me of a bird, like an eagle or a hawk. I'm sure that's what Stephen Cherkis used as inspiration for this.
Are these the famous feathered Deinonychus, the sculptures I've seen on the internet?
Yes. These are the very same ones. These are the originals. I don't know if these exist anywhere else. I don't know if there are copies anywhere. I think these are probably the same ones that you've seen photographed everywhere. Right here at the Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah. Wow. So cool. Just gorgeous. Just beautiful. I love this one in particular, the way it's posed. Oh, man. Look at this one over here. Wow. So, Lordy, with my Velociraptor puppet that I'm working on, this is kind of what I'm going for.
Right.
For this level of detail and personality and beauty here.
Really beautiful.
Just gorgeous. Oh, if any of you happen to be coming through southern Utah at any point, definitely stop in Blanding at the Dinosaur Museum. There's just... was it
I was going to say it was an inexpensive museum. It was only $5 to get in.
$5 to get in? Holy cow, I would pay
Worth a
triple
stop.
that.
Worth a stop.
Yeah. And all of these wonderful movie posters. There are... Some paleontologists look at movie posters like this and they go, oh, why would you have that in a museum? But the thing is, this is a museum geared toward the public. And for most people, their picture of dinosaurs comes from Hollywood, from the movies. And so it's cool to be enthusiastic about that. It's cool to, to talk about this stuff. Because this is, the public is already engaged when you're talking about movies. And it can be an avenue for talking about cool discoveries and what's real and what's not and all of that stuff. I think we should embrace that a little bit more as scientists. And also fight to make movies more scientifically authentic so that we can introduce new ideas to the public. Because that's honestly one of the easiest ways to do it. So yeah. One of my favorite films, The Valley of Guanji, right here. When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. Victoria Vetri. Never seen that one before. This is so cool. So this is created specifically for this exhibit, I think. Sinosaurus, the future of dinosaurs in the movies. C, scientific theories explode. C, dinosaurs portrayed accurately. C, thrilling stories with educational value. Sinosaurus coming soon. I like that a lot.
This is supposed to be a T-Rex.
Yeah, this is from Caveman. It's a movie starring Ringo Starr of the Beatles. We should watch that sometime.
We should watch that.
I think you'd like that, Laurdee. This foam rubber casting of the T-Rex animation model was used in the movie Caveman. Oh, wow. So this is a cast of the original model. Very cool. That's one of the only films I've ever seen where a Tyrannosaurus is basically a comedy actor in that. The T-Rex is very funny in that movie. Yeah. Ghidra, the three-headed monster. These are great. These are great. I like how they decided to turn Guanji into an ankylosaur for the Italian film poster for the Valley of Guanji. That's pretty funny. And that must be the giant behemoth. Is that also Italian? Looks like it is. They decided to put stegosaur plates and a horn on those. This is what the original poster looks like. And they decided to change the animal up a bit, the Italian. Pretty funny. And I have this poster on my wall in my office. Mine is much smaller than this. This is really cool to see this full size. Just amazing. Yeah. I'm loving this. We've got some lovely peacocks here. Wow. We were talking about non-flight feather functions. This is one of those for display. Holy cow, look at that. This is much more ornate than the peacock that I saw at Zoo Montana, who had his big tail feathers removed, apparently. Yeah.
Of any dinosaur documentaries you might have seen, which one would be your favorite?
It depends what kind. If we're going for like a Walking with Dinosaurs style dinosaur documentary, then Walking with Dinosaurs is the gold standard. Yeah. But as for documentaries which talk about the science of paleontology and interview paleontologists and stuff, I'd have to think about that. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Is there any evidence of dinosaurs molting? Isolated feathers, perhaps?
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, we've got isolated dinosaur feathers. Archaeopteryx, I think, was first named based on a single feather. Let's see. I'm trying to think, too, about... I think we have some dinosaur feathers preserved in amber. But it's tough to say if they're from a bird or from a non-avian dinosaur because they basically got the same feathers. It's really, really tough to tell them apart. We can't do it so far. If we find a feather in the fossil record, we can't really say whether it's from a bird or from a non-bird dinosaur. So yeah. Oh, this is cool. What a cool exhibit. Really neat. All right, we're going to continue on over here. Oh, this is neat. I didn't see this guy on the way out. Yeah. Here's a Compsognathus. This is one from the 90s, so it's still pretty scaly and pretty lizard-like. He is preventing the escape of this poor lizard right there. I want to say that there was that there were lizard remains found in the gut region of a Compsognathus specimen. I remember when I was a kid, looking in dinosaur books. Yeah, the Compsognathus was always shown chasing and eating lizards. And I think that's because of fossil evidence there. Is it Bavarisaurus, or I can't remember what the genus name of the lizard is. But yeah. Man, I love this. I can't get enough of this display over here too. This is so funny to me. Did you catch the story here, Laurdee?
No.
So the arms here, Dinokairos, we used to think, well, the arms were the only part of that animal ever found. Those are theropod arms, like the arms of a meat-eating dinosaur. The biggest theropod arms ever found.
Right.
And so they're like, what does the rest of the animal look like? It's got to be like some giant, mega, super carnivore. So here, they show it chasing this animal, Tarbosaurus, which is basically like a Mongolian T-Rex. This is probably what T-Rex evolved from. And it turns out, after having found the rest of the skeleton of Dinokairos, it's basically a big plant-eating animal, like the Therizinosaurus in there. Yeah. So yeah, it's I don't know. This brings me a lot of joy. It's very funny to me. Yeah. All right.
Was Compsognathus venomous like Jurassic Park?
No, we have no evidence that any dinosaurs were venomous, honestly. For a while, I think somebody was saying that Sinornithosaurus, the dromaeosaur from Liaoning, may have been venomous based on some stuff with its teeth, but it has not held up at all. Oh, and speaking of feathered dinosaurs from Liaoning, here's Sinosauropteryx right here. Yeah. This is basically, it's a Compsognathid, just like the Compsognathus we saw back there. Compsognathus should also have feathers. Very similar to these guys. Very cool. And we actually have good evidence of how Sinosauropteryx, what colors its feathers were. This is a kind of a rustier red than usually portrayed on Sinosauropteryx. I kind of wonder whether this was done before we knew about that. Yeah, 2005. So maybe Stephen Cherkas just got really close to the actual patterning on the animal just by guessing, which would be truly impressive. Yeah, pretty neat. And yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, this is cool. Some of these original. Oh man. Heilmann's hypothetical arboreal ancestor of birds. This is so cool having these original things here in a display. This is as much like history of science than it is, as it is science too. Really, really neat. Trees down or ground up are two competing hypotheses for the origin of flight in dinosaurs. But Denver Fowler actually introduced kind of a new contender for that. It would be stability flapping. Yeah.
Could we tell
Really
if a
cool.
dino was poisonous by having bacteria in its teeth, making the bite deadly?
It would be really difficult to determine that from fossils, given that we don't really know how to even figure that out for modern animals. Like the Komodo dragon, there's still debate about whether or not that animal uses just bacteria or whether it actually uses venom to subdue its prey. And that's an animal we have alive today that we can go out and study and bring into the laboratory and stuff. So the prospects of figuring that out for dinosaurs, I don't think we'll figure that out until we figure it out for modern creatures like the Komodo dragon. Yeah. Good, I just want to give you another shot at this. That makes me laugh. This is so great. Yeah. And look at these beautiful cycads. Holy cow.
It's your living fossil.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about the term living fossil.
I was going to say, that's kind of an oxymoron, but...
But, yeah. Beautiful. This is... Let's see. And this is not a sago palm. This is a different kind of cycad. That just refers to Cycas revoluta. These are other kinds of cycad. I'm not sure what these are. These might be genus... These are probably also genus Cycas, because they've got like very Cycas-like leaves, fronds on them. So dinosaurs would have eaten plants like this. These were much, much more common during the age of dinosaurs. Today, there's only, I think it's fewer than 200 species left of cycad. I should know this. I have the book at home in my office. Oh, here's some cool, there's a Therizinosaur claw right there. That's commercially available. You can buy those. The casts like that. Here's a Norfolk pine. These are like araucariid trees. These are still around today, and they were around during the I think they've been around since like the Triassic. With these very distinctive branches on them, leaves. And figs. I didn't realize figs go back to the Cretaceous. That's interesting. Oh. And a palm. Got some various dinosaur tracks. Some more Norfolk pines. And right here, a mummified Edmontosaurus. Wow. Was not expecting to see this here. This rare duck-billed dinosaur mummy was discovered in 1910 in Wyoming. It is one of two collected by the famous Sternberg family. Just mentioned the Sternbergs earlier. Charles Azalea Sternberg and Charles M. Sternberg. There's a large patch of skin from the side of the animal with more on the neck, along the backbone, and on both hands. The skeleton is not crushed but preserved naturally in the round. The original fossil is in the collection at the Seckenberg Museum in Germany. How did it get in Germany? So this is a cast. And wow, normally when we find dinosaur skeletons, they're flattened, you know? So this is remarkable that it's preserved in 3D. I wonder what would be the depositional mode for that. Why would this animal be preserved in 3D like this? I don't know. I can tell you it's really cool though.
Is that the Edmontosaurus with the injured bitten tail?
No, that one's at the museum in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, this is a different one. And there is the hand right there. And it's got bits of skin impression on there. Very cool.
Here are some guesses. We've got torpid, volcano, mud, silt.
This might have, it could be mud flow or something like that. Yeah. Swamp, maybe. Usually swamps, this is probably something where you had a bunch of sediment all laid down at the same time, though, in a big mass. So it could be the result of a flash flood or something like that. Maybe after a prolonged drought. Maybe the animal died during a drought or famine, and then its skeleton was buried really, really rapidly during a flash flood, perhaps. Normally when you have dinosaur skeletons being preserved, it's a more gradual thing than that. And you get like slow accumulation of sediment over the top. And all that weight added bit by bit kind of crushes things down. This is something where you just had a mass of sediment that just entombed the animal all at once, it seems like. Very cool. So there's the beak right there. I like how they put the sclerotic ossicles in so you can see where the eyeballs would be. And there is the other limb right there. Other forelimb. All contorted.
So cool.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
That's really cool.
This is so neat. And even just like this wooden display around it is really well done. There was a lot of money that went into this museum. One of the things that I'm really impressed with this so far is how it's not all jam-packed into here like a lot of other museums. There's a lot of space. Like you could bring school groups in here. You could have a lot of people in here all at once. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm really, really digging the layout of this museum. There's that section of tail right there. Super cool. Really neat. This must be an actual piece of it too. This is not a cast right there. That's that's a real chunk of it right here. Here, I'll kind of bring the camera up around so you can see. Wow. There's the hand right here.
dinosaurs with sclerotic rings, did they be able to move around like some reptiles and mammals, or would they be fixed like birds?
Say it again. What was the last part?
Would they be able to move their eyes around like reptiles and mammals, or would they be fixed like birds?
You know, that's a good question. So reptiles also have sclerotic rings. They've also got those same bones. So when you see like a lizard move its eyes, you know, moving that, I think inside the ring of bones. I think the sclerotic ossicles are supposed to show like the outer circumference of the eye. I think the eye basically goes in the middle of that ring. I don't think the bones are embedded in the eyeball itself. I think it's kind of the other way around. Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. I really don't know for sure. But yeah, great question. So I don't think having sclerotic rings like that would restrict the movement of the eyeball. I think they could still move them. This is really cool. This whole hall devoted to resurrects. Here's an original Doug Henderson. Look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous. May 29th, 1995. It's Diplodocus here. Wow.
That's beautiful work of art.
Isn't that gorgeous? Doug Henderson's one of my favorite paleo artists. Really nice guy, too. I met him back in Bozeman. He actually lives north of Bozeman, Montana. Yeah, really cool guy. Invited him to be guest speaker at a Dead Lizard Society meeting at Montana State once. And really glad we did. He's super cool. Look at that beautiful, all these big cycads like that, super tall. Different kinds of cycads and ferns down here. Just gorgeous. It's really interesting to see something like paintings that I've seen in books and stuff, to see them and actually like look at the brush strokes and all that. Like, it's not.
Who came up with the name Dead Lizard Society?
I don't know, somebody way back in the day. It was probably not too long after the movie Dead Poet Society. That's what it's a play on. Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't be shocked if it were David Verricchio who came up with that. But I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure if anybody remembers. Yeah. These cool displays. Really neat. I wish I had time to look at all of these. I'll have to watch the VOD and then pause at opportune moments. Here, did we go over here yet? Yeah, we did. Here, we'll go over here. We'll see the Pachycephalosaurus skull over there and this lovely Stegosaurus. Look at that beautiful sculpture over there. Look at this. Wow. This is kind of with a single row of alternating plates along the back. Yeah, 2 rows or 1. Ever since the 1880s, when the first stegosaurs were discovered, there have been questions as to how the armor plates were positioned on the animal. Early on, it was thought that the plates were set in 1 row, but for the past 100 years, it has been thought the plates were in two rows, either as an alternating or paired pattern. Tradition has accepted the concept of 2 rows and centered on which pattern was correct. But it is the concept of 2 rows which have misled scientists for years. Fossil evidence has repeatedly shown that the alternating pattern is real. The base of each plate follows one right after another, which represents 1 row, not 2.
Nana Tyrannus is here, and she says thank you for taking her to places she can't go.
Of course, Nana Tyrannus. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a good day. I'll put my mask on again because we've got other people around. Trying to be courteous. We are both fully vaccinated, but still, we'll wear a mask when people ask us to. Check out this. Oh, very cool. I have this same Stegosaurus specimen at home as a 3D print. And I wish I could print out this full-size Pachycephalosaurus. That is really neat. We've seen the same specimen a number of times on this trip. That skull is originally from Carter County near Ekalaka, Montana. And they have a cast in the Carter County Museum. I think the original is now in New York City at the AM&H. And here we go, dinosaur digestion, gastroliths and coprolites. This is cool. So these are taken here to be stomach stones from dinosaurs. I get a lot of questions about this all the time, like whether dinosaurs swallowed stones to aid in their digestion. Some paleontologists say yes, some paleontologists say no. I'm not really sure. I don't have a horse in that fight. But here are some stones, probably collected from the gut region of some sort of dinosaur, I would imagine. Or maybe these are just a pile.
Andy's asked, so if you didn't headbutt, let's send the thing ornamentation?
Oh, for Pachycephalosaurus? Yeah, for display. So the cool thing about Pachycephalosaurus is that that dome only shows up as the animal is super mature. Younger animals have these big spikes that come out of the back of the head there. It was once thought to be a different dinosaur called block. Now we recognize that as a
It's a dinosaur.
be just like on their end. This could be like a broadcasting thing.
Okay, black screen, it says.
I know, that was delayed for when I unplugged the camera.
Sorry.
Back, okay. Good.
Back.
Okay. You will have a bit of a delay here, everybody. Apologies for that. I'm in high resiliency, high delay mode. Speaking of stegosaurus, as we were, check this out. Various recreations of Stegosaurus over the ages. 1899, 1893, early 20th century. Very cool. Very, very cool. The Rubik's Cube of dinosaurs. And there is a lovely... Remember I was talking about Stegosaurus, 17 plates? I think I may have got that from one of Stephen Cherkas's books, actually. Much more graceful animal than it's often portrayed. And here is one of everybody's favorite dinosaurs, Carnotaurus. We will see one of these at LACM, Laurdee.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, this is this famous horned theropod dinosaur with the ridiculous, goofy small arms. Yeah. It says it's a newly discovered dinosaur from Argentina, which has a pair of stout bull-like horns over its eyes. It was newly discovered in like 1988, I think. So this is kind of an old display. But look at that skull. That's gorgeous. And that's obviously a cast. There's only one in the entire world as far as I know. There's only ever been one specimen of Carnotaurus found. And it might not even be mature. It could be a subadult animal. So there's still a lot to learn about this critter. Pretty cool.
There's dino skin.
Ah, dinosaur skin.
I don't know. I'm sure I've seen it because we've been to a bunch of museums, but
Yeah.
I don't remember a display like this being
Yeah.
like, here's the skin.
It's pretty cool with it just
It's
all
really
laid out
cool,
like that. Yeah. Really neat. And there's Stephen Cherkas himself. He's
I can really imagine how it feels.
Very cool. It says Stephen Cherkas makes molds of dinosaur skin in Argentina so that he can use the skin details when making his dinosaur models.
Snufkin, who might be new, asks, was it scaly?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, it's got this kind of pebbly texture to it. These are probably from sauropods, the long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs like that. Other dinosaurs had different skin textures, and a lot of them had feathers too. So, yeah, whole range of different kinds of integument. Oh, there's skin impressions on a Corythosaurus. It's a duck-billed dinosaur. And a pebbly texture there too. Yeah. And dinosaurs like this may have had kind of down-type feathers when they were really young, like baby chicks. And then later, as they matured, got bigger, got better at retaining body heat, or they needed to dump heat rather than retain heat, they would have maybe lost those feathers through ontogeny. We don't really know. Yeah, yeah. I personally, if I, water pistol to my head, if you told me, like, what do you think, Danny, about, did all dinosaurs have feathers? I'd say, yeah, all dinosaurs probably had feathers when they first hatched. And then some of them may have lost them afterward. Because, yeah, if ever you need insulation, it's when you're very small. Like when you're first born as a dinosaur. So, yeah. Very cool. I love these displays. These are so neat. And I like how there's actually, like, journal articles on display, too. This is the paper that made Jack Horner famous right here.
Can we tell what ailments dinos had? Is there anything that people see repeatedly?
Not like repeatedly, except for like broken bones sometimes. Sometimes in dinosaurs that like probably formed big herds. I think anytime we have got like a big accumulation of like Centrosaurus or Pachyrhinosaurus, stuff like that, or like duck-billed dinosaurs like Maiasaura, oftentimes there are like breaks in the tail. Maybe the tails got stepped on sometimes. These animals walked around in groups all the time. Sometimes they'd probably accidentally step on each other's tails. But beyond that, everything else is kind of a one-off, I think. Yeah.
Okay, Lazinka, I believe, is new. They asked.
Lazinka's been around. Yeah.
Oh, Lazinka's been around. Okay. Wouldn't they be similar to reptiles? How would they have feathers?
Well, no. Lazinka dinosaurs they're basically big, weird ancestral birds. If you're thinking of them as reptiles, it's a really outdated way of thinking of them. And here, I'll show you, actually. We're at the perfect display to talk about this. So these are some really early reconstructions of dinosaurs from like the Victorian era. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's Waterhouse Hawkins' Iguanodon right there. The first Iguanodon model. That's so cool. This is an original right here. The one I have at home is a 3D print. This is one of the originals. Super cool. So when dinosaurs were first discovered back in Victorian England, first described scientifically, scientists had very, very limited material. And so for like in the case of Iguanodon or Megalosaurus, it's just a handful of little bones and teeth.
The bones.
But the teeth looked
You're smart. What are you doing?
reptilian, I guess. They couldn't look avian. They couldn't look like birds. Birds don't have teeth. And so the scientists who were trying to reconstruct these, they looked at modern animals like iguanas for clues. That's where the name Iguanodon comes from. It means iguana tooth because its teeth, to these early scientists, looked like those of iguanas. And so they kind of used iguana parts to sort of fill in the blanks, try and recreate these animals. And so you ended up with something like that. And so this is kind of our starting point in the history of dinosaur paleontology. This is how, we thought dinosaurs looked because we had very limited information to start with. But the more we found, the more fossil discoveries we made, the better interpretations we could make, and it became increasingly clear that these are not very lizard-like animals at all. They're much, much more bird-like, and now we know that birds actually evolved from dinosaurs. So birds are dinosaurs. And everything birdy about birds, everything from the eggs that they lay, to their color vision, to their respiratory system, their ankle structure, their wrists, their just about everything. Birds inherited all of those things from their dinosaur ancestors. So, yeah, dinosaurs are not lizard-like. They're bird-like. Or rather, birds are dinosaur-like. And now we know a tremendous number of dinosaurs had feathers. Velociraptor is a great example. This animal was fully feathered, and we've got hard evidence of this, which is pretty cool.
If the babies have feathers, wouldn't that lead to the thought of having a common feathered ancestor?
Common feathered ancestor with what? I mean, birds evolved from dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. So yeah, for sure. The common ancestor is dinosaurs. Yeah.
Did dinosaurs have beaks?
Some of them did, yeah. Iguanodon had a beak. This is not a good iguanodon picture. We no longer think it looks anything like that, but yeah, a lot of dinosaurs certainly did. This is so cool. That's a Megalosaurus jaw right there. This is a cast of William Buckland's specimen. That was the first dinosaur to be named. I would have imagined it to be bigger than that. That's so funny. Where can I get a hold of that cast? I'd love to photogrammetrize this too, so that I could 3D print it. That would be awesome. And there is a bust of Richard Owen's head. Richard Owen, or Sir Richard Owen, if you go by titles like that. He was knighted by Queen Victoria. He was the guy who invented the word dinosaur. He coined it in 1842 in this monograph right here. Fossil reptilia of the Wealden Formation. Dinosauria. Very cool. Oh no, that's from 1872. Anyway. I thought that would be the original they had right there, but I guess that's a later one. Here's a cast you can't really see because of the glare, but this is a mosasaur skull. This is a cast of the original Mosasaurus, which was it's a giant seagoing lizard. It was discovered really early on. Yeah.
Is there 3 rows of teeth here?
Yeah. Well, so those are the lower jaws. They're disarticulated.
Oh,
they're broken right
okay.
there.
Then they're stacked up.
But it does have another row of teeth up in there. I apologize, you probably can't see because of the glare, but Napoleon himself was actually ordered to capture these jaws and bring them back to France. It was considered that important. And in 1795, Napoleon Bonaparte's army confiscated the specimen and took it to Paris, France, where the original remains on public display. Actually, I guess Napoleon wasn't ordered to. I guess he was that was his order to capture it. But yeah.
Is there any evidence to suggest that any species of dinosaurs have feathers developed for defensive purposes, like quills seen in porcupines?
We don't have hard evidence of that yet, no. But if the weird quills on Psittacosaurus are indeed real, and if they are feathers, maybe they were used for defense. Quills or bristles, or people call them different things, but Psittacosaurus may have had something kind of like that. But they don't seem like porcupine quills. Porcupine quills are very rigid. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on through here. We'll try and wrap this up pretty soon, but we're approaching the entrance to the museum, which is our exit. Oh, we'll go in there and look at that real quick before we look at all this cool stuff. Thank you for your patience, laurdee. This is, speaking of Psittacosaurus, here is the Psittacosaurus right here. Actually, all the dinosaurs you see in here have beaks, which is a lucky coincidence because these are not close relatives. This is cool. Dinosaurs in popular culture. Different comic books. This is quite the collection in here.
It is.
Yeah. Different covers of The Lost World. It's like a King Kong Barbie. Complete with the big gorilla hand.
It's fun.
That's very fun. Very cool. Famous Mark Hallett Tyrannosaurus illustration back there. I had these. Does anybody remember Zoo books? I had the dinosaur one when I was a kid, and that is the illustration on the cover. Wow, all of these. It's funny, anytime I go into an antique store, I'm always looking at all the ceramic knickknacks to see if I can find anything like this.
I love the salt and pepper shaker set.
Yeah,
with
isn't that
the
cool?
2 in love, yeah.
Intertwining necks. Oh. Super cool. That sort of thing makes me happy. This is really neat. Very cool. Very, very cool. Oh, this is a cast of the Rex maxilla that we have at UCMP. Yeah. I've worked with this original specimen at Berkeley. I moved that around multiple times, and yeah, big old maxilla from a T-Rex. See those teeth there?
Someone asked, why don't birds have teeth? And then there's been some discussion, and I just...
Oh, they used to.
They used to.
Yeah. And occasionally you'll have a mutation where birds are still carrying the genes for making teeth. And so sometimes a mutant bird will be born that has like remnants of teeth, but it's very, very rare. But yeah, during the age of dinosaurs, some birds did have teeth. I think maybe all the toothed birds go extinct at the KPG boundary. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, birds evolved from dinosaurs that had teeth. So somewhere along the line, they had to lose those teeth. But there are a lot of birds that looked kind of like modern birds flying around during the time of the dinosaurs that had teeth. Ichthyornis is a good example of that, kind of the classic example. We've got these lovely Maiasauri here. This is a dinosaur that, like, I feel a particular connection with, because this is the dinosaur that Jack Horner named and studied, and that's kind of how he built his career and went on to establish Museum of the Rockies as like a paleontological powerhouse. That's where I used to work, the field program I used to be part of. And so it's like without Maiasaura, maybe we wouldn't have Danny Anduza. Sounds weird when I say it like that. Self-aggrandizing. I don't mean it that way. There's a Charles Knight Protoceratops sketch. Holy cow, that's beautiful. That's an original right there, it looks like. And there's an original Doug Henderson. Wow, super cool. This is so awesome. This is incredible. Yeah. So I guess Stephen Cherkis was also working on Maiasaura. I've seen this sculpt like in a bunch of books and stuff before. This is so neat. And I guess he got some casts. Very cool. This is back when Maiasaura material was sent back to New Jersey. Jack Horner worked there as a preparator, and apparently some people in Montana were not too happy about that, about these remarkable Montanan dinosaurs being taken out of the state, brought to the East Coast. And so Museum of the Rockies apparently like asked for a meeting with Jack Horner, or maybe he asked for a meeting with them. And they're like, we're not happy about Montana dinosaurs leaving the state. And he's like, well, if you'll hire me, I'll make sure the dinosaurs stay here in the state. And they did, and that's how it went. So yeah. Now Maiasaura is also the state fossil of Montana. Wow, Sylvia Cherkis, 1979. I've seen this in, I think this isn't this the cover of Don Glitt's Dinosaur Dictionary? I like how the arms are folded up against the torso there. And then, lovely Carnotaurus right there. Wow. Very cool. Its tail kind of reminds me of like a leopard gecko's tail. All thickened up like that to provide balance. Here's a Tyrannosaurus. Very cool. Very, very cool. I love this. So this talks about how these are two different groups of theropod dinosaurs, I guess. The new group and then the ceratosaurs. These are coelurosaurs and ceratosaurs. By comparison, Tyrannosaurus is much closer to the ancestry of birds, so much so that it may or may not be a bird. It depends on whether T-Rex had an ancestor that could fly. If so,
If
then
the
T-Rex would be a
situation called for
giant
still
flightless
more
bird. If not,
protection,
then T-Rex
he
would be a
simply grew
non-avian
spears
dinosaur.
which projected from his body armor.
I think we've got a slightly better handle on where birds originate at this point, so I don't know of too many people who would say that, yeah, T-Rex could be a flightless bird, but you know what? We could have some discoveries that could kind of shake up the whole dinosaur family tree, and that could be something in the future you could see. T-Rex might be a bird, in the same sense that Deinonychus and Velociraptor might be flightless birds. It could happen. It could happen. Yeah. There's some titanosaurs emerging from their eggs. Look how cute they are. This is about as big as baby titanosaurs would be. Not very big. You know, imagine this animal hatching out at this size and growing to be, you know, about as big as a Boeing 737. You know, longer than a blue whale. Pretty amazing. Check this out. Albertosaurus. We've got fleshed out on one side. And then the head skeleton on the other side. Really cool display. This is some awesome stuff. We've got a lovely Allosaurus here. I've seen this before in different color schemes. They must have repainted it. I like that. Almost like an army camo kind of deal. Here's that Supersaurus scapula we've been seeing a lot of on this trip. We saw this yesterday. We saw this at the dinosaur at the Museum of Ancient Life in Lehigh. And here it is here. Very cool. Yeah, neat stuff. I like this Allosaurus here. Very nice. This is like not even a big Allosaurus. They get significantly larger than this. And here's a lovely Ceratosaurus skull cast. Check that out. Gorgeous. It's one of the largest of only 3 individuals known to exist. Nowadays we've got more Ceratosaurus, but yeah. Pretty cool. Oh, and one of my favorites. You'll recognize this from streams that I've done in the past. Dilophosaurus, right here. There are not many places in the world where you can see a mounted Dilophosaurus skeleton. I didn't realize that they had one here. This is so cool. There's one in City College in San Francisco. We might have to go visit for a live stream at one point too. Yeah, this is about as big as this animal. I mean, yeah, it's like 20 feet long, like, you know, approaching 7 meters. Nowadays we think its crest looked a little bit different. Its lower jaw should probably be deeper, but overall, pretty good representation of this animal. And here's Coelophysis here too. This is that famous skeleton I was telling you about with the bones there in its stomach, which were once thought to be from a young Coelophysis, and they later turned out to be a different kind of animal called a Silosaur. But yeah.
Do you know at what stage of life dinosaurs began and stopped having offspring?
We don't really. Well, no, hang on. No, we have started to figure it out, come to think of it. Sarah Werning is a paleontologist.
So you do
she was a graduate student at Berkeley at the same time that I was a high schooler there at the Museum of California. University of California Museum of Paleontology. And she had this really cool talk about teenage pregnancy in dinosaurs. She was looking at bone histology of Tenontosaurus, and she was able to determine that, like, around the age of, I think it was like between 10 and 14 years old, they started having offspring. And one that she found actually had medullary tissue in the bone, so she could tell that it was female, which is pretty cool. Yeah. They may have actually been sexually mature before then too, but she knew that this one was ovulating at around that age. I think it was some like between 10 and 14 years old, which might be late for a dinosaur. I don't know. These guys here, Herrerasaurus. That's so cool. I don't think I've ever seen a Herrerasaurus skeleton outside of the Field Museum of Chicago, mounted like this. This is a very, very early meat-eating dinosaur from the Triassic period. It's Chigualasto Formation of Argentina.
We have a raid of 15 people from line of 8.
9 of 8. Hey, thank you for the raid. Really appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Sorry, I'm whispering right now. We're here in this wonderful museum in Blanding, Utah right now. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist.
Looks like Voodoo gifted 9_of_8 a subscription. Looks like Voodoo gifted a tier 1 sub to 9_of_8.
Usually
This
I'm doing
is their
cooking
first
content,
gift
so
sub
you
in
can
the
give me a
channel.
follow if you like to eat.
Yeah. You can't eat the food that she makes, but you can maybe learn how to make it for yourself.
Yeah.
She'll teach you. Yeah. And we're on this amazing road trip right now, going all around the American West, visiting different museums. We almost passed this one and didn't stop. So glad we stopped. This has been one of my favorite museums so far on this trip.
This has been a really great one.
This has been incredible. The Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah. So yeah, we're actually going to wrap this up pretty soon here.
Looks like you paid forward a gift they got to 9 of 8.
Thank you so much, Voodoo. Really appreciate that. Yeah, 9 of 8. Enjoy that gift sub. You have fun with those dinosaur emotes. I made all those, so I don't know. It always makes me happy when I see them used anywhere on Twitch. Yeah. We've been here for a solid 2.5 hours at this point. We've got to get back on the road pretty soon so we can make it down to Arizona. We're going to the Grand Canyon tomorrow. So we really got to wrap this up. But if you came here with the raid, I'd encourage you to watch the rest of the VOD. This has been one of my favorite museums so far on this trip. This has been so cool. Yeah. I love this too. We've got, rather than having a whole mounted Tyrannosaurus skeleton, we've got a silhouette of the skeleton on the wall, all life size. Arms look a little big. Their claws are.
I
Worked
think
on Tyrannosaur
you
claws
should
before. They're
enjoy
like that.
science as much as you can. And you can't
And,
enjoy
I thought
science
that's pretty
alone.
good.
You have to share it.
There's that skull. Really neat. Really neat. That's awesome. We've got some incredible petrified wood here. Look at that.
This is petrified wood.
Yeah, it is.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
Bentley just subbed for their second month.
Thank you so much. Who was that?
Bentley?
Bentley. Hey, Bentley, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Your support means a lot. That means your Triceratops egg is now hatched. Welcome to the world, baby Triceratops. Awesome. Well, this has been incredible. If any of you ever find yourselves near Blanding, Utah, the southern part of the state,
a long time ago.
definitely check
were
out
terrible
the Dinosaur
lizards, don't
Museum
you know?
here in Blanding. It was well worth the stop. And it was, what, $5 to get in?
It's $5 to get in. I'm going to leave a little donation because
We absolutely should. This
really
is
great.
incredible. Yeah.
Claire just gave 100 bits.
Thank you, Claire. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Well, awesome. I think we're going to find somebody to raid real
If
quick.
we had dinosaurs now,
Yeah,
would
let's
they
do
get
that.
along with
And then I'm going to have to come back in and tell these back before.
Well, I was thinking,
Whoop, we love you, Dino guy.
McFly gave us 100 bits.
Thank you.
time.
We do. Well, we can
Playing tag.
wait a minute here and yeah. See how far this hype train goes, maybe.
I know.
Looks
We do
like Voodoo
appreciate your
gifted
support,
Monkey
everybody.
McFly.
Seriously, yeah.
This trip
Looks
has not
like
been
Voodoo
free,
gifted a tier 1
and
sub to
so
Monkey
we've been putting a
McFly.
lot of our own money into
They have
it just to
given
make
2
this
gift subs
happen
in
for
the
you guys.
channel.
We really appreciate the support that we get from you guys.
Absolutely.
Even just the viewers, we enjoy the viewers, but we enjoy
Yeah.
the monetary support as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Looks like Voodoo just gave a gift sub.
thank you. Looks like
Dinosaurs
Voodoo. Really
lived a
appreciate
long
that.
time
Yeah.
ago.
Like we were saying,
terrible
enthusiasm
lizards,
and great
don't you know?
questions are awesome. They help the stream going, but you can't eat those.
We had
Yeah, that's true. And we've been eating on this trip.
Gift subs and bits and everything, they actually help pay for lunch. So that's
Mikey Likes gave us 100 bits.
thank you, Mikey Legs. Appreciate that very much. Wonderful.
Oh, and Dino Mama UK gave us 200 bits.
Thank you, Dino Mama. Wonderful.
Trek Nerd, 200 bits.
That's awesome. Thank you, Trek Nerd.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah.
XF Kirsten, 100 bits.
Thank you, Kirsten. That's awesome.
Thank you for all.
Thank you guys. This is going to help with lunch. It'll help with gas to get where we're going.
Seriously.
We are hoping to be streaming from the Grand Canyon, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see if it works out. We're going to try our best.
We're going to see about reception. So tomorrow's a maybe stream. But we should be back on Monday with something for you guys, either a driving stream or an eating stream, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be in LA doing museums from there.
Hopefully going to go to the Los Angeles County Museum and probably La Brea Tar Pits as well. Johnny,
I'm going to look and see who's on.
Awesome. Cool. And LA County Museum, really cool, Patrick Pirate. I've not been there since SVP was held there in 2013. That was shortly after that hall reopened, and it is a beautiful, beautiful museum. I'm very excited to share it with you all.
I think we might want to raid Balint.
Yeah?
He's doing science news.
Okay.
He's
awesome.
doing a new thing more than just watching the ants today. We're watching Balint.
Science. Is it science?
Science _with _Balint.
Okay. Underscore with underscore Balint. Does that look right?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Cool. We'll get this raid started real quick there. There we are. You guys are going to enjoy Balint's stream, I think. Oh, and I don't know if that worked. Hang on, I typed it into my chat app. Does it say anything about a raid? I may have goofed this up.
Yes, rating. Yes.
Beautiful. I don't think I have control over when exactly that goes through. But
Mama Bonbon, thank you for the 11 months.
And Mikey Likes was saying, if you're getting food and Blanding, check out the Patio Cafe. Great burgers.
What? We definitely will. And looks like
that out,
thank you so much for the 1,000 bits. We really appreciate that.
Holy cow. That helps with lunch. Fantastic. Phenomenal. And Dottie Matrix, thank you for being here for this stream. This has been so much fun. Again, so glad we stopped. Thank you again for...
I'm definitely glad we were flexible today.
Yeah.
We left early, so we had time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Dinosaurs now.
Awesome.
Could they get along with a horse and cow?
They could. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well.
Does it say when the raid goes through?
And yes, it's counting down.
It's counting down. All right, everybody. Yeah, this has been so much fun. Seriously, one of my favorite museums so far.
Yeah, this has been really great.
Fantastic. It's been really awesome.
It's counting down. We have.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.
Great, everybody.
Thank you for your support. We're gonna go head down to Arizona, and cool. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and